Hi everyone, Raquel here from scrapcosy. Today I wanted to share with you my January 2019 release with PaperArtsy. In this video I present you my newest stamps and two projects to create with them. We will start first with ESC18 and we will create this card. Okay, let's get started. First I'm going to select a piece of a smoothie and the different stamps that I'm going to use for my design. So I'm selecting that sentiment, the postage and the flowers. And I'm going to use my stamping platform, the one by Tim Holtz. This is because it's a pretty large stamp and I don't want it, well, you'll see that it's a bit tricky to actually get a perfect impression. So it's better to have the chance of actually repeating it by just, well, stamping and pressing again. I'm using archival ink in black. And I want that because I will use some water-based coloring method and I want this to be waterproof. So I'm giving it a second print impression and you'll see that now the black is much sharper. And once it's a stamp, I'm going to create a mask. So I'm just putting it there. This is a post-it note, so it has glue only on one side. So I'm making sure that I actually use that sticky side to part of my flowers so I can reuse it for later. And I'm just quickly stamping there. And then I will stamp the rest on another piece. So I will attach both together once they are cut. So I just need a little bit of that. And then I'll cut this. But before that, I'm going to stamp the other parts of the card, so basically that sentiment over there. And I'm just picking it with my lid, putting some archival ink and pressing down. I'm just doing it twice to get a much better impression. And now I'm going to swap to the other ink, which is gray, which is water in can, just lighter. And I'm going to stamp the rest of the things in that color. So this is me cutting the mask and assembling it together. And I'm going to place it on top of my flower. So now I feel free and I can stamp a little bit more here and there. And now I'm going to create a mask for the postage notes. Several of them. Because I'm going to stamp, even in a lighter version, the letters from the script that it's incorporated in the kit. I find this stamp set is very good because it has like this very big flower and then different elements to decorate, a sentiment, and also that background that it's pretty cool. So I'm positioning those masks in the different places and then I'm selecting the script that will go on top of it. And I'm just inking it very lightly. So I'm just touching it barely with my ink pad, and as you can see the impression is pretty light and that's what I want, just a hint of it. And now I'm going to create butterflies, and again I'm stamping with black because I want it sharp. And I'll repeat it twice. See the difference between the first impression and the second, much blacker. And I'm going to cut this. I really want my butterfly to pop up, that's why I'm cutting it, and I will be attaching on top of my project and not stamping as I did the rest of the images. It's because I'm going to kind of make it be like if it was 3D, you will see. Now I'm going to add some ink to the edges of the butterfly just to cover those wet areas, so it looks more finished. And now I'm going to add color using Infusion's Sunset Beach, Golden Sands, Olive Tree, and Royal Blood for the butterfly. So I'm going to mix this with another product, which is the Satin Glaze by PaperArtsy. This is like a varnish and it will help me creating like a translucent paint. So I'm putting a tiny bit amount of infusions on my craft sheet. Then I'm loading my brush with some satin glaze and then I'm mixing it with the infusions. Testing it on the back to see how it looks. I want it lighter, so I mix a little bit more glaze with that. And then I get a softer, pale version of that pink. And I'm going to paint the flowers. So you can go straight on it and just paint the whole thing, as I'm doing here. Or as you will see in other petals, I'm going to just leave a gap and pretend that there is some part that it's kind of illuminated or that it's shiny, like I'm doing there. The mix we've done is like a translucent paint, so basically you can go ahead and build up color by applying more and more on top of your already painted surface. So for me it's always better to start with a light version of the mix and then build up the color as you go. And as you can see here, I'm trying to keep that white part lighter, so then it seems that it's like a volume there. Now I'm changing color and I'm just using the yellow for the middle of the flowers and changing color again and using the green for the leaves. I'm just speeding it up so you can see the final result. And I'm also applying there some, well, highlights by leaving some things less painted in green, so basically in white, and then applying a final layer of green on top. I'm just cleaning the mess and I'm going to go to the butterfly, this time watercolor effect, so just mixing infusions with water and then painting my butterfly. Again, you can go very light first and then you can build up color if you need to, but with that color I have enough. Now I'm going to apply a washout. For that I'm applying some infusions, golden sands with water, and with a flat brush I'm just applying it on top of all my surface. Okay, that gives me like a vintage look and instant color to my background. You can apply a bit more if you see too pale, and go ahead and repeat the step. And you can also spritz some water on top, and the drops will act like a bleach, so it will create like a distress effect. I'm heat setting with the heat tool to make sure the paper is dry. If you plop the drops, then you're removing also a little bit of the color from the paper before it's actually dry. But once dry, it will be permanent and will never react again with water. So now my butterfly, I'm testing where it will go, and I'll work on it and I'll give it some shape with my hands. You can also use like a little brush, round brush, well, to make them round and so on. So I'm using some foam that I'm cutting very tiny there, and I'm applying it on the edges of the wings. And then the body of the butterfly, it's going to be stick directly to the paper, so it will be deeper than the wings that will be, well, like coming up. And I'm using the medium by Ranger that sticks super strong and very quickly, and I'm placing it there. Now I'm going to add some vintage photo to the edges of the card, just to add a little bit more of interest and a little bit of shadow that will get my eye to focus on the center of the image. And then I'll place that on a card base. I could basically just apply the ink as I'm doing here, but then I'll check it and then I see that it's perhaps, well, too not so bright, so then I decide like I don't want so much ink. So I'll repeat that again with the other bag and just add in a hint of ink, just a little bit, so it will pop up more. And I'll mount it like that. I'm using my ATG gun to attach both pieces together. You can use double-sided tape or you can glue it if you want. And then that will be the first card done. Ready? Do you like it? Here are some close-up pictures so you can see them. All the details and all the colors. It's very simple to make, as you saw. So I'm going to kind of repeat a similar process and we will do the other design with ESC17, which I also like very much. And it also incorporates like a background leaf there, and it's very nice to use on sentiment and big flower. So same steps, I'm just putting it in my stamping platform, inking it well, and pressing down onto a piece of a smoothie. And as you will see here, well, it takes me a while to actually get a good impression, and not even that, I don't know why that piece there wouldn't go. So I'm pressing from every single angle, even from the back of the platform, and then I finally managed. I think that a solution would be to put a little bit of foam just in the back, between the platform surface and the paper, very thin, like that Eva foam, and that would make it great, because here I really struggled. But it's good that I use this, because otherwise if you do it with an acrylic block you may get the same result, and then, well, you don't have a chance to repeat it. So the use of a stamping platform is really good with such a big stamp. So as before, I'm creating a mask. That's enough, even if the center is not totally printed. So I'm cutting it down and I'm attaching it to that place. And then I'm going to use that herbal to create a background, again with watering can. So I'll be stamping this stamp in different places, different heights. So I basically cover the whole area. And again, it's good that I can repeat if I want. And on this one, the background is more solid and more obvious than in the other project, since I'm stamping a lot there. I'm pressing hard. So once I have it all covered, I lift the mask, and that's what you get. And now I'm going to get some pieces that I may stick afterwards. Will not use that part, but only the sentiment, you'll see. And I'll replace the original curious and truth by the other two words. And I'm stamping the butterfly twice. So I'll just cut the different images and the different sentiments. And the idea is replace the sentence of be curious and follow your truth for be natural and follow your instinct. So you can create different combinations. So once everything is cut, I'm going to color this, and I'm going to use Sunset Beach infusions with water for those two first stripes, which I'll finally not use, but still they are done. And I'm going to create also with golden sands the different sentiment there, and I'm going to just heat set that. I'm spritzing some water also to create some texture there. And once it's done, I'm going to basically cut it out a little bit like that, so then that becomes more rough. And then I'll also apply some ink or that watery effect on the edges, and you will see that the yellow grasps better in that part of the paper. It soaks in very well, and it will give me like darker edge. And I decide that the letters go there, and I want to edge them with a little bit of vintage photo distress, so they become darker as well, especially on the edges. And for the butterfly, I'm just using royal blood with water, and I'm painting both of them. One will be on top of the other, and you will not see the whole thing, but still it's better to just add color to both, so you can finally decide which one you want on the top and which one you want on the bottom, in case that makes any difference to you. So the butterflies are already moving and ready to fly while I'm heat setting them. And once that's done, I'm going to see how to assemble that. But first, let's make sure that they are completely dry. So they go like that. And now we are going to color the base. So for the base, same technique as before. Satin glaze, which is that varnish. Just a drop mixed with a little hint of infusions. And I test the color on the back and I paint my flowers. Here the flowers are have a lot of shadows, so I will not bother on creating any shadowing of any kind. I just go and plainly paint the whole thing with the same color, not bothering on doing highlights or anything. The flower itself already has that detail, so. And now I'm changing color and I'm creating the green for the leaves. And same here, I'm not going to do any sort of shadowing or anything, just adding color. And I can apply 2 layers if my green is too light, or just leave it as is. And now a washout for my background, so infusions there, water, flat brush, and mix it very well and go side to side, covering everything. And while it's wet, I can apply some water, some drops, to add some texture to my surface. You can only do that if it's wet. If it's not wet, well, it will not react because it dries permanently. So as you can see, the paper fold up, but then now it's flat because it's dry. So now I'm going to assemble the whole thing. So I'm just making sure that my butterflies cut some shape, and it will seem like, well, the butterfly is there hanging on top of the flower. So I'm applying, as I did before, some foam tape on the back of the different wings. Putting it double there, and I'm cutting it a little bit sideways, so I can now stick the body of the butterfly onto the body of the other butterfly with some medium to make sure that it doesn't move and to make sure that it stays there perfectly okay. And once that's assembled, then I'm going to stick that on my paper. And I'll put a little bit more of foam underneath that butterfly to make sure it seems it's flying. I really like that you can create those elements and make them fly anywhere. And the good point is that the 2 different stamp sets have 2 different butterflies, one sideways and the other one in front, so you can mix and match. And now I'm going to also place the words natural and instinct with some foam, so they are floating on top of my sentiment. If you like the original sentence, you could also do this step that I'm doing here. Just stamp twice and then, well, repeat the same. Cut out the words curious and truth, and then repeat the same. So I have my sentiment there, which I'll also pop out a little bit with some foam adhesive. And it will go there. So I'm just adding some of that glue on top, on the body of the butterfly. Making sure that my paper is flat. I'm just checking that everything is fine. And I'll repeat the same things that I did before of adding some vintage photo distress on the edges of my card to add that vintage look. And I'll do the same on the card base, but very lightly, so it matches my second try or second attempt of the other project. So very mild coloring there. And then I'm going to assemble this first. using again the ATG Gun, and I'm using it on the back of the, on the card base, not on the back of the card. And once it's in place, then I'm going to attach the sentiment, because I wanted it to kind of float a little bit outside. After testing a little bit, I decide that's the position. That will be the final step of the card, okay? It took me some time to decide where I placed it. So I'm going to show you now some pictures of this project as well, so you can see it closely and how it looks like, and see if you like it. And then, yeah, that's all for today. I'll have another video showing you the stencils also of this release, so I'll link it at the end of this video once it's ready, and I'll show you another video that you may like as well. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, well, make sure you do, so then you don't miss any of my videos anymore, okay? Well, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!